Light shared, light returned. My journey into teaching. Hi everyone, I'm Jam, multimedia artist, creative mentor, and lifelong learner. Today, I want to share something deeply personal. My journey into teaching, or perhaps more accurately, my journey back to it. Because as I've come to realize, the path began much earlier than I thought. When I was in grade school, I joined something called the Kapitbahay Program, part of our school's outreach efforts in Barangay Loyola Heights and beyond. We didn't just visit communities, we learned with them. It wasn't a typical field trip, it was service wrapped in empathy, connection, and curiosity. I hadn't thought about that experience in years, but it resurfaced as I reflected on where this desire to teach really began. Back then, I learned the vital lesson. Teaching takes patience, empathy, and perspective. People grow up with different life experiences, and understanding that is a cornerstone of being a good mentor. A few years after that, I tutored a classmate in math. I had a grandfather who taught the subject beautifully. My friend didn't. Helping her understand something that once seemed impossible was my first real taste of what it means to be a bridge. Looking back, I think that's when something quietly lit up inside me. A light I'd carry and share for years to come. Fast forward to 2017. I was few years into my career when the chance to teach finally opened up through Creative Nation Academy. I created a session on basic logo conceptualization. Built from scratch, practiced with peers, polished with feedback, and finally delivered to a real audience. 4 hours flew by, I barely ate that day, but I felt alive. Soon after, I gave a talk at Angeles University about the latest in Adobe Creative Cloud. The students were curious, open, and hungry to learn, and their energy stayed with me. Around that time, I also gave a webinar on the basics of graphic design. My first time joining a growing online community of Filipino social media creatives. Without fully realizing it, my journey as an educator had begun. In 2018, I gave a talk exploring where social media fits in the buyer's journey and how it connected to both inbound and outbound marketing. By 2019, I started speaking on topics close to my heart. My favorite that year, taking pride in Filipino creatives. That same year, I was invited back to Miriam College to teach a short class on logo design and packaging. I wish I had received feedback or evaluations, just to know what stuck. Still, I walked away wishing I could do it again. I also had a chance to talk in front of fine art students in University of Santo Tomas about how to value their work through pricing. Truly a great honor. I also compiled much of my social media knowledge for a session with RVA, then called Social Media for RVA, featuring tools like Adobe Spark, now Adobe Express. These small steps, when stitched together, told a story of growing trust in my voice as a mentor. When the pandemic arrived in 2020, everything changed, but the mission remained. Together with Creative Nation Academy, we launched a virtual training on practical and real-world InDesign tips and tricks built to support educators and creatives adjusting to remote tools. Later that year, Thames International invited me to speak to over 700 MSME owners nationwide in the International DTI training. We tackled social media coordination, content strategy, and community building. It was intense and deeply meaningful. Then came one of my most memorable talks, World Interaction Design Day at Cavite State University. I spoke about the world-class Filipino designer. Out of 159 attendees, 88 responded with an average score of 9.5 over 10. More than the numbers, their messages said, "You inspired me." Moments like this remind me, sharing what we know can change someone's path. In 2021, I was invited again by Cavite State University, and I hope to continue that rhythm in the years ahead. In 2023, I officially became an Adobe community expert, a milestone I once only dreamed of. In 2024, I was able to participate to Adobe Creative Week, led the Women's Month workshop on creative storytelling, and participated in the first ever Adobe Creative Jam in the Philippines. I also revisited my podcasting roots. In 2018, I was on the Design Life show, talking about mindset and creative resilience, on how to be your own cheerleader. And in 2021, I was on Creative Incubator, speaking on design communication. But this year, something new happened. I was unexpectedly able to create my own podcast using Adobe Podcasts, the same platform I now want to teach others to use. Earlier this year, I led a 2-part webinar called How to Get Hired, aimed at fresh graduates and career shifters. But here's the truth, I was learning too. I was able to build my own portfolio in real time and made mistakes in front of audience. But then that's what I love about teaching. It's learning in public, it's showing up even when you're unsure and inviting others to grow with you. Teaching isn't a one-way street. It's exchange. It's the student who sends a message years later to say, "I remembered what you taught me and it helped." It's the quiet shift in someone's eyes when something clicks. And for me, it's become a compass. No matter how uncertain life gets, teaching brings me back to purpose. If you've made it this far, thank you. If you're someone who wants to grow your communication skills, speak with more clarity and confidence, or learn how to tell better stories, I'm hoping to be able to share a session on Adobe Podcast soon. If that sounds like something you'd like to explore, let's connect. Let's light the path for ourselves and for others. Until next time, this is Jem. Stay curious, keep creating, never stop learning.